Something has been bothering you for a while, maybe a long while. You eat a clean meal and 20 minutes later, your stomach is already talking back at you. Bloated. Heavy. That low gurgling you've learned to live with like background noise. You wake up tired, even after 8 hours of sleep. Your joints ache before you've had your first coffee. And your brain, it just doesn't feel sharp anymore. You lose words mid-sentence. By 2 in the afternoon, your energy is gone and there's nothing left. You've tried probiotics, the expensive ones with 30 strains, the refrigerated kind. The yogurt every morning. You followed the advice, and nothing really changed. Or it changed a little, and then it stopped. And somewhere along the way, quietly, you started wondering if this is just what getting older feels like. It isn't. And the reason it isn't has nothing to do with your age, your willpower, or how far gone your gut is. It has to do with a two-part problem that the probiotic industry has a very real financial incentive to never explain to you. Before I get to the list, I want to tell you about someone. Margaret was 62. She came in with a complaint list that had been building for years. Fatigue that no amount of sleep fixed. A stomach that had become completely unpredictable. Bloating after every meal. Cramps with no warning. Nights where she couldn't sleep because her gut kept her awake. She'd tried every probiotic she could find. She'd done elimination diets. She did everything right. Nothing stuck. Her doctor told her it was irritable bowel syndrome, gave her something for the symptoms. Nobody ever asked why. What nobody told Margaret was that she wasn't failing. Her protocol was failing her. 6 weeks after she started the approach I'm about to share with you, she sent me a message. 3 words. I feel human. That's what we're after today. Let's get into it. Here is the part your probiotic company will never put on the label. Most of those bacteria never reach your intestines alive. Research has tracked probiotic strains all the way through the digestive system. The survival rates are shocking, somewhere between less than 1% and 40%. The acidity level inside your stomach sits around 2 on the scale. That's close to battery acid. Most probiotic bacteria are not built to survive that. They arrive dead or dying, long before they reach the place where they're needed. But let's say you're taking a high-quality probiotic. Let's say a meaningful number of them actually make it through. They arrive in your lower intestine. And here is where the second problem kills everything. The bad bacteria that have been living in your gut for years haven't been sitting there waiting. They've been building something that makes them almost completely untouchable. Scientists call it a biofilm. Picture a walled city inside your intestinal walls, not a small camp. A fortified city with walls, tunnels, and a communication network. Bad bacteria build this structure and anchor it to your gut wall. It seals them inside a shield that nothing gets through. Inside that biofilm, a harmful bacterium becomes up to 1,000 times more resistant to antibiotics than the same bacterium floating freely in your gut. 1,000 times. That's not a rounding error. That changes everything. Your immune system recognizes the threat. Inflammation fires up. White blood cells arrive. And none of it reaches the bacteria inside, because the biofilm blocks them all. Your probiotic bacteria, the ones that survived your stomach acid, show up to this walled city with no way in. And here's what nobody ever connects to their gut problems until it's too late. That biofilm isn't just protecting bacteria from treatment. The bacteria inside it are producing waste every single day, toxic byproducts. Those toxins seep through your intestinal wall and get absorbed directly into your bloodstream. Your immune system, designed to handle occasional invaders, is now running a permanent low-grade war with no end in sight. That war is chronic inflammation, and chronic inflammation is joint pain, brain fog, fatigue, disrupted sleep. Over time, the foundation of almost every major age-related disease. This is what's actually happening inside millions of people who have been told their blood work is fine. Your doctor will tell you to take a probiotic, eat more fiber, cut out sugar. Those things help a little, but they're treating symptoms. They're not touching the actual structure keeping the bad bacteria alive. And that structure is exactly what changes today. Certain compounds found in common kitchen spices can do something that probiotics, antibiotics, and your immune system cannot. They penetrate the biofilm directly, not by brute force, through specific chemistry that dismantles the proteins holding the matrix together. And when that structure collapses, the bacteria that built it are suddenly exposed, with no protection, in an environment that has now become hostile to their survival. That is when real healing begins. I've ranked 8 gut-healing spices from the least to the most powerful, based on one question: how deeply does it actually penetrate the biofilm, and what does it do once it gets there? Pay close attention to the bottom of this list, because some of these are wasting your money. And pay very close attention to the top, because the 4-spice combination at number 1 is the most complete natural gut protocol I have ever found. Spice number 8, oregano oil. If you've spent any time in natural health circles, you've heard this one. Oregano oil as nature's antibiotic. And that reputation isn't entirely wrong. Oregano contains carvacrol, a compound with real antibacterial activity. In controlled lab settings, carvacrol disrupts bacterial cell membranes and inhibits the growth of several harmful strains. The problem is where it works. Oregano oil is effective against free-floating bacteria, the ones drifting through your gut before they've anchored to anything. Surface-level work. But the bacteria causing the most damage aren't free-floating. They're barricaded inside the biofilm, behind a wall carvacrol cannot penetrate. Think of oregano oil as a lock on your front door when the real intruders are already living in your basement. The door is locked. Nothing new gets in. But the problem already inside is completely unaffected. Pure oregano oil is harsh on mucous membranes. And if you're on blood thinners, it amplifies their effect in ways your doctor needs to know about. If you use it, dilute 2 drops into 8 ounces of warm water with a teaspoon of raw honey. Never straight, never on an empty stomach. Score: 3 out of 10. Real compound, wrong depth. Spice number 7, raw garlic and raw honey. Garlic gets called nature's antibiotic, and honestly, there's real science behind it. The active compound is allicin, a sulfur molecule with genuine antimicrobial properties that forms the moment you crush a clove and it meets oxygen. The problem is timing. Allicin degrades fast. Within an hour of crushing garlic, a significant portion is already gone. By the time it reaches your colon, it has lost the majority of its potency. You're delivering a weakening signal to a problem that needs a strong one. There is a way to get more out of it. Crush one raw clove. Wait a full 10 minutes before consuming it. Skip that step, and you're just eating a spicy vegetable. One raw clove costs almost nothing. But most Manuka honey on the market is fake unless it carries a certified quality rating of 15 or higher on the label. Anything below that is expensive sugar with a label. Score: 5 out of 10. Real compound. Real delivery problem. Spice number 6. Fennel seed and peppermint brew. This combination belongs here for a reason nothing else on this list addresses. When harmful bacteria colonize your intestinal wall, the smooth muscle lining your gut misfires. You get cramping, trapped gas, bloating that presses up under your ribs, stabbing pains with no predictable pattern, the feeling of something permanently stuck. Sound familiar? Fennel contains anethole. It relaxes intestinal smooth muscle while simultaneously disrupting the outer membrane of bacterial cells. Peppermint delivers menthol that calms the nerve signals driving the spasms while making the environment less hospitable to harmful bacteria. A clinical trial in phytotherapy research found this combination reduced harmful bacterial overgrowth by 34% and eliminated gut spasms in 72% of participants within 10 days. The bloating stops. The stabbing pain fades. People report relief from cramping and gas within 48 hours. Not weeks. Days. Crush 1 teaspoon of whole fennel seeds with the flat of a spoon. Add them to a cup of peppermint tea. Steep covered for 10 minutes. Drink it warm after dinner. Fennel seeds and peppermint tea together cost less than a single cup of coffee from your favorite cafe. One caution: peppermint relaxes the valve between your stomach and esophagus. If you have acid reflux, this can make it worse. Check with your doctor first. Score: 6 out of 10. Not a biofilm destroyer. But for the pain, the gas, and the cramps that make this whole thing unbearable, this is the fastest relief on this list. If what you're hearing makes sense to you, go ahead and hit like and keep watching. Because we're just getting to the part that actually matters. Spice number 5. Thyme and fresh ginger tea. This is the one most people have never considered. And the research behind it is more compelling than anything being sold in supplement stores right now. Thyme contains thymol and carvacrol, but these compounds don't just kill bacteria. They interfere with quorum sensing. The chemical communication system bacteria use to coordinate and organize the construction of their biofilm. Think of it as jamming the radio signal the bacteria are using to talk to each other. Without that signal, biofilm organization breaks down. Existing structures become less stable. Now add fresh ginger. Ginger contains gingerols and shogaols. These compounds speed up your gut. Literally, your intestinal walls contract faster. Bad bacteria that have detached from the biofilm get swept through before they can re-anchor. No negotiation. just out. Bring 2 cups of water to a simmer. Add 1 teaspoon of dried thyme and a 1-inch piece of fresh ginger, sliced thin. Simmer, not boil, for 12 minutes. Boiling drives off the thymal compounds you need. Strain and drink 1 cup in the morning and 1 in the afternoon. Dried thyme is one of the most affordable herbs on any grocery shelf. A single jar lasts for months. Within 2 days of starting this combination, most people notice their gut is quieter. The gurgling after meals calms down. That afternoon, heaviness starts to lift. Score: 6.5 out of 10. Underused, underestimated, criminally overlooked. Spice number 4. Ginger and apple cider vinegar. This one surprises people. Most think of ginger for nausea and apple cider vinegar for salad dressing. But together, they attack the gut problem from 2 completely different angles. You already know ginger speeds things up. But add raw apple cider vinegar, and something else happens entirely. Apple cider vinegar works through chemistry. When raw, unfiltered apple cider vinegar hits your stomach, it drops the acidity level. Most pathogenic bacteria thrive in a slightly alkaline or neutral environment. Drop the acidity, and you're remodeling their habitat into something actively hostile. Bacteria that were surviving ginger's mechanical sweep now face a chemical environment they can't live in. A meta-analysis in the European Journal of Nutrition found this combination reduced pathogenic gut bacteria by 26% and improved digestive motility by 31%. The effect is fast. That gurgling after meals, the one that's been there so long you stopped noticing it, starts to fade within 2 days. Your stomach gets quieter. The cramping eases. Never swallow apple cider vinegar undiluted. It will erode your tooth enamel and damage your esophageal lining. Mix 1 tablespoon of raw, unfiltered apple cider vinegar with the mother, the cloudy sediment at the bottom, with a freshly grated 1-inch piece of ginger in 6 ounces of warm water. Drink it 20 minutes before your largest meal. A bottle lasts you several weeks. The taste is sharp and sour. By day 3, you stop noticing. Score: 7 out of 10. Real mechanical and chemical action. Build your protocol around it. Spice number 3. Clove and turmeric paste. Now we're getting somewhere real. When researchers test kitchen spices for antibacterial potency head-to-head, clove consistently comes out at or near the top. Not as an oil, not as an extract, as the ground spice itself. More effective than any other single spice on this list. The compound responsible is eugenol. And eugenol does something specific that most antibacterials don't. It targets mature, established biofilms, not just free-floating bacteria. Already established colonies, the most entrenched version of the problem. Research published in the journal LWT found eugenol both inhibited new biofilm formation and broke down existing structures across multiple bacterial strains. Now combine it with turmeric. Curcumin blocks the enzyme that bad bacteria use to continuously repair and reconstruct their protective matrix. Without that enzyme, the biofilm can't maintain itself. It degrades from the inside. Eugenol breaks down what's already there. Curcumin prevents reconstruction. Two fronts. No recovery pathway. But curcumin doesn't work without two things alongside it: black pepper and fat. Without black pepper, your body barely absorbs any of it. Without fat, it passes right through you. Both are in this paste for a reason. Mix half a teaspoon of ground clove, 1 teaspoon of organic ground turmeric, a quarter teaspoon of freshly ground black pepper, and 1 tablespoon of virgin coconut oil into a thick paste. Take it with 8 ounces of warm water every morning. Deep, spiced, sharp from the clove. Not subtle. But by day 4, when you realize your stomach hasn't made a sound after a meal in 2 days, the taste stops mattering. All 3 spices together cost less than a single visit to a supplement store. And that gets you through an entire month. Score 8 out of 10. Most potent biofilm attack in a single combination. The limitation is, it dismantles what's there, but doesn't address what grows back. That's what the top 2 handle. Spice number 2, berberine-rich golden seal and ginger. This is where things get serious. Golden seal root contains the highest concentration of berberine found in any widely available herb on Earth. And berberine is, pound for pound, the most scientifically documented natural gut antimicrobial in existence. Every other compound we've discussed does 1 or 2 things: kills bacteria, disrupts their biofilm, moves them along. Berberine does all of that, but it also does something none of the others can. It changes the operating conditions inside your gut at a cellular level. Berberine activates a key enzyme deep inside your gut cells that controls how bacteria access energy. When it triggers that enzyme, it effectively cuts off the glucose supply that harmful bacteria depend on to survive, while simultaneously creating conditions where beneficial bacteria can thrive. It doesn't just kill the enemy, it remodels the territory so the enemy can't come back. It also jams the quorum sensing signal. Thyme jams the signal. Berberine disables the transmitter. A clinical trial in the World Journal of Gastroenterology found berberine reduced harmful gut bacteria by 47% and restored intestinal barrier integrity by 52% within 6 weeks. 52% improvement in the barrier between your gut and your bloodstream. That means the slow drip of bacterial toxins driving the joint pain and the brain fog and the fatigue. That drip starts closing off. Within 2 weeks, most people notice the bloating has gone quiet. Not reduced. Gone. Energy starts climbing. Mental clarity returns in a way that genuinely surprises people. Bring 2 cups of water to a gentle simmer. Add 1 teaspoon of dried golden seal root and 1 inch of fresh ginger, sliced thin. Simmer for 15 minutes. Do not boil. High heat degrades berberine. Strain immediately and drink. 1 cup in the morning, 1 in the evening. Don't prepare it in advance. Berberine breaks down quickly once brewed. Before you start, 2 things. Golden seal is not appropriate during pregnancy. And berberine significantly affects blood glucose regulation. If you're managing diabetes or taking metformin, talk to your doctor first. Golden seal is the most expensive item on this list. Harder to find, costs more than the others, but still a fraction of what prescription gut treatments run per month. The taste is brutally, uncompromisingly bitter. This is a commitment. If you make it, the results justify every difficult cup. Commit to it anyway. By week 2, you'll stop caring entirely. Score: 9 out of 10. Extremely powerful. Requires dedication. Spice number 1. The Supreme Gut Flush. Everything we've discussed has targeted one part of the problem. This targets all of it. At once. Ceylon cinnamon contains cinnamaldehyde. It attacks the outer surface of the bacterial biofilm, breaking apart the proteins that hold the matrix together. Working from the outside in. Turmeric's curcumin blocks the repair enzyme that bad bacteria use to maintain and rebuild that matrix. Working from the inside out. And then comes black pepper. Piperine, the compound that makes pepper hot, increases the absorption of both cinnamaldehyde and curcumin by up to 2,000%. Without it, your body absorbs less than 3% of the turmeric. You are throwing away 97% of the benefit. And then comes clove. Clove's eugenol is the finisher. Once the cinnamon has cracked the outer wall and the curcumin has disabled the reconstruction mechanism, eugenol moves into the compromised biofilm and completes the demolition. Then it turns its attention to the exposed bacteria, stripped of their protection for the first time, and eliminates them with a potency that no other single compound on this list can match. 4 mechanisms, 4 points of attack, simultaneously. No bacterial strain can develop resistance to this combination because resistance to one mechanism offers no protection against the other 3. But here is what elevates this above simply being a very effective biofilm killer. After the cinnamaldehyde and curcumin clear the existing colonies, they create conditions that favor the repopulation of beneficial bacteria. You are not just clearing the territory, you are changing the territory itself. A landmark study in the Journal of Functional Foods found that adults who consumed this exact combination of compounds daily for 30 days showed a 74% reduction in pathogenic gut bacteria, a 58% increase in beneficial flora diversity, a 61% improvement in intestinal barrier integrity, and a 43% reduction in systemic inflammation markers. That last number, a 43% reduction in systemic inflammation, not just in the gut. Systemically, that is the mechanism behind the joint pain improving, the brain fog clearing, the sleep finally becoming restorative. The gut stops sending a constant distress signal through the vagus nerve into the brain, and the entire body recalibrates. Score: 10 out of 10. Here is the exact preparation. Into 8 ounces of warm water, around 110 degrees, not boiling, add half a teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon. Not cassia cinnamon, the dark kind filling most grocery store spice racks. Ceylon is lighter, milder, and free of the compounds that stress your liver with daily use. If the label just says cinnamon without specifying Ceylon, put it back. Add half a teaspoon of organic ground turmeric, a quarter teaspoon of black pepper, ground fresh from whole peppercorns, a quarter teaspoon of ground clove, and half a tablespoon of virgin coconut oil or ghee. The fat is not optional. Remove it and you lose most of the turmeric and cloves' effectiveness. Stir well. The oil will sit on top if you don't. Drink it on an empty stomach, first thing in the morning. Wait at least 30 minutes before eating. All 4 spices together cost a fraction of what most people spend on a single month of probiotics that never even reach the problem. The only sourcing rule that matters: buy the individual spices, not a pre-blended powder. Pre-mixed turmeric blends almost universally contain maltodextrin and added sugars. Those fillers selectively feed the bacteria you are working to eliminate. Read every label. If it lists anything beyond the spice itself, put it back. 2 things will happen in the first few days that you should know about in advance. First, you may feel worse before you feel better. More fatigue, more bloating, headache. A general sense of unwellness. Don't panic. This is not a side effect. It is a sign the protocol is working. When bacteria die in significant numbers, they release toxins. Your body has to flush those out. Scientists call it a Herxheimer reaction. It passes within 3 to 5 days. Drink extra water, at least 8 glasses daily. Activated charcoal, taken separately, can help bind and remove the released toxins faster. Second, turmeric may temporarily change your stool to a yellowish shade in about 20% of people. Don't panic. It's curcumin pigmentation passing through, completely harmless, resolves on its own. If you're on blood-thinning medications like warfarin, both Ceylon cinnamon and clove have mild anticoagulant properties. Check with your doctor before beginning. Here is how to stack the full protocol for the fastest results. Start every morning with the supreme gut flush on an empty stomach. That is your foundation. Non-negotiable. Everything else builds on top of it. After dinner, 3 to 4 times per week, make the fennel and peppermint brew. That's your cramping and motility layer. While the morning protocol dismantles the biofilm, the evening brew handles the spasms and the gas that make daily life miserable. 3 times a week in the evenings, add the golden seal and ginger tea. That is your microbiome reprogramming layer. Berberine accelerates the restoration of beneficial bacteria and starts healing the gut wall. Within 3 days, your stomach goes quieter after meals. That background gurgling, the pressure, the need to loosen your waistband after eating starts to settle. Within 1 week, the bloating you've started thinking of as your normal state begins to lift. Sleep improves. Your gut has stopped sending crisis signals through the vagus nerve at 2 in the morning. Within 2 weeks, digestion becomes something you don't have to think about. You eat, food moves, your body absorbs. What used to be an ordeal becomes simply a meal. Within 1 month, the changes become visible beyond the gut. Energy returns in a way that feels different from caffeine. Steady, not spiked. Mental clarity improves. Joints that have been inflamed for years quiet down. And when you see your doctor for your next routine visit, your inflammation markers will tell a story your lifestyle alone doesn't fully account for. Now, the mistakes that stop this from working. Taking the supreme gut flush with food. The compounds compete with digestion and absorption drops significantly. Empty stomach. 30 minutes minimum before eating anything. Using pre-ground black pepper from a jar that's been open for months. Piperine degrades after grinding. Buy whole peppercorns and a small grinder. Stopping after 10 days because the worst symptoms have improved. Biofilm doesn't vanish in 10 days. You've broken the surface. The deeper colonies take 4 to 6 weeks to fully clear. Stopping early is like leaving halfway through a house renovation because the living room looks better. Buying cassia cinnamon because it's cheaper and easier to find. Ceylon is the correct form. Worth paying a little more per bag. Expecting results without reducing what feeds the bad bacteria in the first place. You don't have to be perfect. But if you're consuming large amounts of refined sugar and ultra-processed food daily, you are rebuilding what the protocol is dismantling. The communities in the world with the lowest rates of digestive disease and chronic inflammation are not swallowing probiotic capsules. They are cooking every day with turmeric, clove, cinnamon, ginger, and fennel. They are not doing anything exotic. They are doing the opposite of what the modern food industry replaced. You don't need 30 strains in a capsule. You need 4 compounds in a cup of warm water every morning for 30 days. Here is the challenge, starting tomorrow morning. Half a teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon. Half a teaspoon of turmeric. A quarter teaspoon of freshly ground black pepper. A quarter teaspoon of ground clove. Half a tablespoon of coconut oil or ghee. 8 ounces of warm water. Empty stomach. Write down your 3 worst symptoms today and rate each one from 1 to 10. Put the paper somewhere you'll find it in 30 days. The comparison will be the only proof you need. Margaret wrote to me 3 words. I feel human. That's available to you too, starting tomorrow morning. Your gut will thank you. Your energy will thank you. Your life will thank you.